Thanks for listening to another episode of Hey Human Podcast. This is episode 465, and my guest is Sirous Esmailzadeh. Sirous has an incredible story. He's an Iranian-American who was detained in Iran after his passport was confiscated. He was smuggled out of Iran and was trying to find safe harbor back to the United States. But through a series of events, he ended up imprisoned in a Pakistani prison. I met him through a mutual friend and learned of his story and asked him to be on the show. He's an incredibly kind man, and I really appreciate that he took the time to share his story. He's working on trying to make a film about his story. I think it will be quite powerful. I hope he gets it made. I want to mention that this past weekend, as I'm doing this preamble, on the 16th of December, it was a terrible weekend with terrible things happening, and it just feels like over and over and over again, terrible things are happening. And all I can say is I personally don't know how to handle it all, other than I feel like my friends and my family and anyone I come in contact with who is shining the light of love, I'm gravitating toward in order to handle everything that's going on in the world. It's a weird time, but we're here for each other, and I'm here for you. So if you hear my voice, just know that I'm sending you love and support and care. I want to also bring up Rachel Kais and I were going to be doing an event, and that has been postponed to the new year, and sorry about that, but it has to do with scheduling and all that stuff. In other news, check out heyhumanpodcast.com for links to learn more about my guests and the show. Check out SusanRuth.com to learn more about me and my other artistic endeavors. Follow Susan Ruthism on social media. Find my music on all the different music places. Rate, review, and subscribe to Hey Human Podcast on iTunes, Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you celebrate the season, then happy holidays, whatever you celebrate. If you don't, then happy winter, and sending big love. Be kind, be well, be safe. Here we go. Sirous Esmailzadeh, welcome to Hey Human.
Thank you very much for having me.
It only took me 6 times to get your name right.
Yeah, it's okay. No problem.
Welcome. Thank you for being on the show. Let's jump right in. Tell me where you grew up and what childhood was like.
Well, basically, I grew up in Iran, Tehran. I had a very good childhood. I was there till, my whole family, we were there till I was 12 years old. And then the revolution happened, and we immigrated to the United States, to Los Angeles, California.
And 12 years old, you are pretty aware, I'd say, of everything going on around you. Can you talk about what life leading up to the revolution was like, and then what during the revolution, how you and your family made a decision to come to America and what that experience was?
Middle-class family. My father, he was a supervisor for the French airlines called Air France. So he worked in the airport. My mother also worked there for about 8 years until she got pregnant, and then she became a full-time housewife. I used to go to a half Persian, half English school, which was private. And we lived in a very good neighborhood where there was a lot of Americans who lived around us. So my mom had a lot of American friends, but at that time we never had come to the United States. But we didn't know, where they were from. But I remember this one particular lady, she was from Texas. So they always talked about Texas, how the food was and everything. And then all of a sudden, the revolution happened, and we had to migrate to the United States. But before that, my father's brother, which is my uncle, he had immigrated to the United States in 1974. So when we came to Los Angeles, he used to live in Redondo Beach, and we settled in Palos Verdes.
Did the revolution happen instantly, or was it a slow burn of events that happened?
Well, to be honest with you, because I was a kid, I didn't notice anything. But later on, when I grew up, everybody told me that it took some time, but nobody believed, because we had a king, and nobody believed that the king could be toppled. But it just happened, and they closed the schools down for about 2 years, and that's when my parents decided, no, you have to get an education. So we had to immigrate and come to the United States.
What was it like when you first got to America as a 12-year-old?
Well, it was very overwhelming. When I got here, it's because back home in Iran, I went to an English school, which we only studied grammar. Our conversation was not so good. So when I came here, I had to learn the conversation all over again, and I had to leave my friends behind and make new friends over here. It was difficult. It's because a lot of people, in the United States, because of the U.S. hostages that were taken on, later, they hated Persians. So it was a hard time that we had to transition to, but thankfully nothing happened to us.
Did you grow up in a religious family? Did you get to celebrate your faith at all, or did you not really be religious?
No, basically my father, he was Muslim, but he was never religious. And my mother was Christian. So we used to, celebrate the Persian New Year. We used to celebrate Christmas. It was very good times.
When you came to America, how many of your family members stayed behind, or did everybody come?
No, when we came over here, we just had few family members who stayed behind. It's because they had to, they had no choice. Everybody else started immigrating after we did. So most of the family came out later on.
Did you go back to visit very much?
No, the first time I went to visit was in 1997 to visit some family members. And it was a shock. It's because I hadn't been there, since I was 12 years old, and the people had changed. I mean, the government was a different type of government. You had to be careful of what you would say in the streets. You couldn't just, say anything you wanted to. And I went to my old, neighborhood, and I saw that everybody had left from there. So I didn't recognize anybody over there. Mm-hmm. So it was very heartbreaking, actually.
Was there any kind of behavior toward you because you had spent time in America? Was there concerns for your safety at all?
Yes. Well, at that time, when I was there, the Iranian president, he was a little bit more moderate. So they didn't really, bother anybody who came from the United States that much as they do these days,
Right. Right. Well, let's talk about your experience going. You went to visit, you went home to America, went to visit, and at some point you decide you want to go back to Iran to see some family property.
Yes. What happened when we came out when the revolution happened, my father did not sell his house. He just left it there. He left it to his brother, which he was supposed to keep the house and check up on it, but unfortunately he didn't. And one day, when the electricity was going in and out, the refrigerator burned down, and they called the fire department. And when they came to knock, there was nobody there. They broke down the house, the door, and they came in and they said, "Where are the owners?" And they said the owners had left long time ago. So they told the government, and they confiscated our house illegally.
In America, there's something called eminent domain, that if that the potential of your home, if you own it, to be seized is always there if the government comes along and decides they want it. Is that then the case in Iran, or is it something completely different?
Well, what happened? I'm not too familiar with the Islamic law or the law over there, but I knew what they did was illegal, because the only reason that they would confiscate any property if you had worked with the previous government, or you were in the Secret Service, or you were against the government, which my father was not against anything. It's because he worked for the French Airlines, and he never said anything about the government, even though he didn't like the government that was in power, but he never said anything to make them believe that he's against them.
He wasn't a dissident.
Yeah, exactly.
So what happens? You find out that the government has seized the house, and you're in America at this point.
Yes. So basically, they seized the house, and we were in the United States, and the house was under my father's name. So he waited years and years and years to see if he can get the house back. We found out later on that his brother had went to to the court over there, and he betrayed my father. He told them that this guy is somebody else that was against the revolution, which my father was not, because the two pictures of the people that were against is two different people. So that's one of the reasons they would not give back the house once they seized it.
So just to clarify, your uncle betrayed your father?
Yes. Well, what it is, a lot of people, when the revolution happened, in order to save their own property, they had to tell lies and do a lot of stuff for them to save their own property. And one of the bad things he did is he betrayed his own brother for reasons that we never found out why. But it was very cruel. Yes. So then my father tried to get his case into court. He hired one of his friends, and they put his case into court, and they found out that the person that his brother had told is against the government is not even my father. So finally, after years and years, my father's case got dismissed, and they said that they have to return everything back to him. But unfortunately, when he tried to go back to do that, he passed away. So,
your father passed in Iran?
No, here in the United States.
So the house was deemed to be in your family name, but your father, in the time that it took for all of that to transpire, your father had passed.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
That's so sad.
Yeah.
What's your father's name?
His name was Ibrahim. Yes, or in English, Abraham. A lot of people call him Abraham. Yes.
What happens next?
So basically, after that, we didn't do anything. Me, my mom, and my brother, we just didn't do anything for years. And then we always had a Persian passport, and we were U.S. citizens. So we would have two passports. So I went to renew my Persian passport in Westwood, and the lady who was there, she said, "Yeah, I know this one guy who can help you guys to get your house back. He's a lawyer back home. If you want, you should talk to him and see what what can be done."
Back in Iran.
Yeah, yes. And this person used to travel to the United States back and forth. His kids, lived here. So he would come, go back and forth all the time. So one time when he was here, I called him and we met with him, with my mom and my brother, and we decided, okay, we'll give you the case. And he worked on a contingency. He said, if I get your house back, I will get like so much, like a percentage. So we signed a contract with him.
Once the government says the property should revert back to your family, you still have to go through the process with the lawyer?
Yes, you still have to get a lawyer and go to court, and then they have to issue it back to you. It takes, sometimes it takes months, sometimes it takes years. It's because everybody over there is corrupt. You have to pay a lot of people off. Mm-hmm. If you go the regular route, which this lawyer wanted to go, it will take years. So I land in Iran, and I go through customs, and I give my Persian passport to the immigration officer, and usually they stamp it, and you go to to check your baggage, and you go out. So he started looking at my passport, and he put some stuff in the computer, and after about 3 minutes, he told me, "I'm sorry, I got to take away your passport." I said, "What's the reason?" He goes, "You know what the reason is?" I said, "No, I don't know the reason." So he took the passport. He said that you cannot leave the country. We're going to send this to I believe it was the passport agency.
But did you say I'm an American citizen?
No, because when you enter Iran, you cannot enter with a U.S. passport. If you do, it's illegal. So that's why a lot of like Iranians have two passports. You have to enter with the Persian passport.
Okay.
So then I told him, where's my passport? So he gave me an address. He said, you have to go there and they'll tell you more about it at that time. So then I was in shock. I came out, I got my luggage, and this lawyer came to pick me up from, he was at the airport to pick me up and take me to a hotel.
And you said, hey, they just took my passport.
So I told him that. And then he said, don't worry. Tomorrow when I go to the office, you come to the office and we'll talk about it and find out what's going on. So he took me to the hotel. I couldn't sleep the whole night. And the next day I went to his office, which was about 100 yards from the hotel. So I would walk over there. So we went there and he made some calls and he found out that my ex-father-in-law had put a complaint against me 3 years before. And that's why when I entered, they took away my passport.
So without you even having a chance to defend yourself or anything, your ex-father-in-law said, hey, he did something bad, and therefore you're just automatically assumed guilty?
Yes, over there it's like that. If somebody says something about you and they have the connections, so they can make a file about you and you would never know until you go there and then all of a sudden you're stuck. And that's what happened to me.
So the lawyer you're with, what did he say when you found this out?
He told me that we need to go to talk to this ex-father-in-law and see if we can get him to sign the papers to let you go. It's because if he doesn't do that, you cannot go anywhere. So we tried 3 times. We went and we talked to him, but with no use. So he wouldn't sign any papers. And then and another mistake that my lawyer made is usually when you go back to a country like that, they have 7 or 8, different like police station, intelligence department. They got 7 or 8 of them. If you give your name in advance to somebody who knows them, like they can tell you if you can come to the country or not. So he made a mistake. He didn't double check. He didn't do his due diligence.
And why did your ex-father-in-law level this accusation against you? What was his motive?
He believed that I ruined his daughter's life.
For what purpose? What was he after?
He wanted money, extortion. And then I told him, I said, look, I don't have any money. I can't give you any money. And at that time, my mother had Alzheimer's disease, so she was very sick. And I begged him. I said, look, just sign the paper. I got to go see my mom, and then we can talk it over later on. He said no. So,
was your mother in Iran at the time or in America?
No, in America, staying with my brother.
Mm-hmm. And your ex-father-in-law, it's my understanding that he was in cahoots with a corrupt lawyer as well, because they had decided they wanted to take your family property.
Yes, exactly. And that's what I found out later on. Over there, everybody, unfortunately, you cannot trust anybody. Everybody is corrupt, and you have to be very, very careful.
Your ex-father-in-law says, no, I'm not going to sign the piece of paper unless you give me a bunch of money. You say, I don't have any money.
Then my lawyer goes, you only have a couple of choices. I said, look, I need to get back to my mom. My mom is sick. I don't know how long she has. I have to go back. So he said, I'll see what I can do. So he got in touch with a couple of his friends, which I didn't know. I did not know them. So they said that the only way that you can leave is being smuggled out.
Because you don't have a passport.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
And how did you feel about that decision?
I was very angry. I said, no, that's dangerous. He said it's the only way. He said the other way is that if we go to the Persian court with this ex-father-in-law, but the case might take up to 5 years. Are you willing to stay here 5 years? I said, no, I can't.
Would you be imprisoned during those 5 years, or would you be free to go about your life?
No, you would be in prison until your trial started. Yes.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
Yes, it is. So basically, he found these people, and they said, "Okay, we will smuggle you. You will go, through, Turkey."
Your lawyers found these people.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I told them, I said, how much will it cost? And they went back and forth, and and they said it's going to be about $10,000. I said, look, I don't have that much money. I probably have to borrow it. So I called my brother, and he looked around. I mean, in my savings, I had some money, but I didn't want to touch it. But since it came to the last straw, I told my brother, okay, if that's the only way, then let's just do that.
So they said your only options are A, go to prison for 5 years while it works its way through the courts and maybe you'll get exonerated, or B, be smuggled out of the country by human traffickers, basically, for $10,000.
Yes, exactly.
You must have been terrified.
Yes, I couldn't sleep at night. I mean, at nighttime, I would, my mind was everywhere. And I told my brother, I said, look, I don't know what's going to happen to me, but if this goes the way it is and I don't survive, just know that, I know you're doing the best that you can, but it's dangerous. Mm-hmm. So he said, no, don't worry, we will get you out. So they talked. So the lawyer found these people, and my brother had to wire these amounts to these people who lived in the United States, which was very strange to me too, of how these smugglers, either family or friends, lived in the United States. And they all had bank accounts, that they would give to my lawyer, and then I would have to call my brother and give the account numbers, and he would have to, put the money into their account. Mm-hmm. So finally, we got somebody. So he gave us a couple of names, and my brother put 5,000 in this person's account, 5,000 in somebody else's account.
And you have to hope that these people are legitimately going to help you, and there's no way to know.
Yeah, exactly. And there's no guarantee. You could give them $10,000 and your money is gone. Mm-hmm. So once everything was wired into their accounts, they told me, okay, get ready. We will let you know what date. So then I was waiting, and that took another, 4 months. So I was waiting, and finally they told me through the lawyer that on this night we're going to take you, you will be, taken to some safe houses, which were near the Turkish border, and after that, you will go on into Turkey.
And what were the safe houses like?
The safe houses were very dirty. It was a lot of women and small children. You had to sleep on the ground, on the concrete, cobwebs everywhere. And there were 2 or 3 guards, watching the front doors so nobody would leave.
How did you get to the safe house in the first place? Did you have to travel far?
They took me to this park in the capital. And then I waited on a bench, and this one guy came and he said, "Are you so-and-so?" I said, "Yes." So I got into his car, and there were 4 other people, and he drove 7 hours to the border.
So scary.
You don't know if you're going to even survive it. But it was very scary. It's because I was sitting in the front, and there were people in the back that I didn't know who these people are. At any time, I feared for my life that they might, cut my throat or, do a lot of stuff. It's because, smugglers, you never know what they're going to do. So after 7 hours of driving, they took me to this safe house, and I was there for a few days. And then they said somebody else is going to come, pick you up with some other family members over there who were also wanted to go. And we're going to take you to another safe house to be briefed on what day you will be leaving.
What was your sense about the women and children that were around? What were they trying to get out of?
I mean, the people that I saw in these safe houses, they were all either Afghanis from Afghanistan or Kazakhstan or from other countries. I was the only Iranian over there. I didn't see anybody else. I don't know. They looked very also overwhelmed, and they had small children who would cry all day long. It was very terrible.
Do you have your American passport hidden on you somewhere?
It was in my bag, so I had it hidden so nobody would see it, and nobody knew I had the American passport. And
they just assumed you were Iranian.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
What happened at the next safe house?
It was a lot of people, and they put us in a group of like 20. So because I was single, they put me in a group with women and children and small kids. And then the guy said, "Okay, we will be leaving at 10:30 tonight, so get ready." So we just sat there, and they told us if anybody needs to go to the restroom, you better go now because we're leaving soon.
Did you have food and water during this experience?
They only gave us water, no food. They didn't give us food at all. So when the time came, it was around 10:30 at night. So we got in our groups, and there was one person in the front that will lead you, and one person in the back to make sure that everybody is in the group. So then, in the darkness, they opened the door and they said, "Okay, let's run." I didn't know that I had to run. So it was up a mountain, which they never told us about. So this guy in the front, he was running, and everybody was behind him. And there was one guy behind you at the end. So if you didn't run, he had he had a wooden stick. He would hit you in the back. So thank God I didn't get hit. But we started running, and halfway going up the mountain, my lungs gave out. I couldn't run anymore. I told the guys, "Sorry, I can't do it." I just sat down. So then they called the leader, and the leader came and said, "Look, you have to go." I said, I can't even run anymore. My lungs just gave out. He said, "Okay, then the rest will go on and you will stay here. Then we'll take you back to the safe house and decide what to do with you." And meanwhile, while we were trying to go up there, it was so dark. I fell a couple of times. I had bruises on my hand, on my legs. And because it was close to the mountain, it was very, very, very cold. It's where it separates Iran from Turkey. It's a huge mountain. And then I just remember like going up, and all of a sudden, to my right, I saw this ravine. Even though it was dark, I saw flashes, and I almost slipped. If I had gone down that ravine, I would have been dead already. It was like 100 feet down. I almost slipped. I caught myself, but then I couldn't go up anymore. So I stayed there, and these women and children were taken all the way up. It was like three stages of the mountain. You would go to the first stage, then the second stage, then the third stage, you're on top. So they brought me back to the safe house, and coming down to the safe house, I again fell again, more bruises on my hands were thing. And the guy was very mad. "You didn't tell me that I have to run up the mountain. I can't do it." He said, "Yeah, you should have known," and all these things. So he was very rude. So then he told me, "Sleep here till the morning." It was like when I came down the mountain, it was like 3:00 in the morning. So I stayed there, and he told me, "Look, just sleep here, and in the morning I'm going to take you somewhere else." So I remember, I tried to sleep. I couldn't sleep. At 5:00, his phone rang, and all these people who went up to that mountain that had to go through Turkey. One of the women was screaming. She said that her kids started screaming, and the Turkish police, they caught them and put them in prison. So in one way, I think God was looking after me. I got lucky. I didn't get caught.
All those women and children.
Yes, and they put them in prison, and then they turned them over to the Iranian government, and then they put them in prison.
Would they be put to death for trying to escape?
It depends who the judge is, I think. But they would have severe punishments for sure, So these guys, the smugglers, they took me back to another safe house, and they told me, "Stay there, and we will, we will let you know what the next steps are." And I told them, I said, "Call my lawyer or the people who know them to tell them that I didn't make it." So they said, "Okay." So after 2 days of being in the safe house where they locked the door, that I couldn't even go out to the bathroom or anything, they said somebody is going to come and pick you up, and you're going to go back to Tehran. I said okay. So I waited a couple of days, and then this guy who was hired by the lawyer, he came and picked me up, and then he took me to a motel, and then he saw I was bruised and all that, and I told him, I said, look what happened to me.
You're back in Tehran. You haven't eaten. You've just had water.
Yeah, so I'm starving and all that. So I told them, I said, look, you need to tell these people to give back my money because they didn't take me anywhere. And then he started joking. He said, are you kidding me? These are smugglers. You cannot tell them to give your money back. He said, okay, we'll find another way. So I said, look, I really don't have much left. You guys took $10,000. That's a lot of money. He said, I'll figure out another way. So I stayed at this it's not even a motel. It's a hostel that they put me in. Very, very dirty. He had one bathroom. He gave me some money to go eat. So I went and ate. He left me there for like 2 days by myself. So then I went and I ate a few things. And then after 2 days, he came and he said, look, I have some good news for you. We're going to smuggle you through the Pakistani border. I said, is that safe? He said, it's the safest route, which he lied to me, of course. And I told him, I said, how much is it going to cost me? He said, it's going to cost you another probably 5,000 or 6,000. I said, look, I don't have that much money. You're taking, everything that I have. He said, that's your only choice. Unless you want to go to the Iranian jail, this is the only choice. So then these guys had WhatsApp. So I called my brother again, and I told him, look, this is what happened to me. Thank God I'm alive, but they're trying to take me off. They're going to take me through Pakistan. So he did some research, and he saw that the American consulate is in Karachi. So he said, that's good. At least, you're going to go through that route. I said, okay. So then again, my brother had to wire these accounts, which these people lived in the United States, which was very, very shocking to me that how these people are living in the United States and they're smuggling people from back there. But
so these are new smugglers or the same smugglers?
No. New smugglers now. So basically, my brother wired the money to their account. And what they did, they took me from Tehran to another city, which is called Zahedan, which is by the border of Pakistan. So they took me over there, and I stayed there for about 2 or 3 days. And then after that, they took me to a safe house. I stayed there for about a day, and then overnight, they took me inside Pakistan. We went through by car.
Did anyone stop you or try to talk to you?
While he was driving, the person told me, he said, look, you have to act as you're deaf and mute. So you don't say anything. So we drove to the border, and the Iranian immigration was checking cars, and by the stroke, our car got lucky. It's because the one in front of us, the Iranian immigration officers were talking to them too long. And when this guy who was the driver, told them, I need to get into the border, I need to go. So he told them, okay, you go. So they didn't check our car. So we got lucky in that sense. We went inside Pakistan. He drove for another 3 hours until we got to the border, to the border city of Pakistan. Mm-hmm. And over there, they took me to another safe house. And now the worst part is that those people talk a different language. It's not, it's not Persian anymore. So I don't even speak their language. And I stayed there for about a day, and then somebody else came and picked me up. And they put me on a bus with this one guy, and we went all the way to a different city, and that was like another 5 or 6 hours drive. It was about 13 checkpoints that that the Pakistani military would stop the buses and come up and take people. And on all 13, I got lucky that none of them came and took me off the bus.
They were just taking people at random, or were there? Yeah.
Yeah, it was off random. So they would come up, they would get into the bus and look at you. If they didn't like what you looked like, they would say, "Hey, you come with us." And once you exited the bus, that was it. They would take you somewhere. I don't know what happened to them. We got through to this city, which is called Quetta, Quetta, and they put me in another safe house over there. And they closed the door, and the guy left. After about a couple hours, one lady opened the door and gave me some water and some of their food, which I couldn't eat, but they would lock the doors. And I was very scared. It's because now I'm in a country that I never been to. I don't speak the language. I don't know who these people are. And then the next day, they came and they put me in the car, and they told the guy in their language, drive. So he drove all the way to Karachi, which was another, I would say, 5 or 6 hours drive. He drove all the way straight. So once we got to Karachi, a young man which worked for them, he came with a motorcycle. And they told me, jump on his motorcycle and go. So they took me to a motel, and he was watching me. I said to myself, okay, nobody knows where I am. Probably my family thinks I'm dead. So this guy was talking on his phone, and he had WhatsApp. So I told him with my hands and everything, I said, you have WhatsApp? He said, yes. He spoke a little bit of English. I said, please dial this number. I give you the number. You dial. I want to talk to my brother. So I guess he didn't understand what I was saying, but he did it. So when I talked to my brother, I told him, look, I'm alive. I'm here. So can you send like email to the American consulate that I'm coming? So that's how my brother was able to send them a message. So after about 2 days, they took me to the end of the street, and they told me, get out. And then I said, where? He showed me across the street. It was the U.S. consulate. So then they left, and I went there. I knocked on the door, and the guard opened the door. I said, I'm a U.S. citizen. I need to come in. My brother has sent an email. So they took me in. I went into the room. It was this one lady. Her name was Ashley. I talked to her, and I told her, I said, my brother sent an email. Please check your email. So they went and they checked the email, and right then and there, I broke down. I started crying. And then she said, we need your story again. So tell us what happened. So I had to go through the whole story again of how I went to Iran, how they took my passport. And then she told me, I got bad news for you. You probably have to spend some time in jail here. I said, no, listen, I can't. I'm a U.S. citizen. You guys are supposed to protect me. She said, it's the law over here. Since you crossed over illegally, you would have to go to jail. I said, yeah, but I'm a U.S. citizen. I'm in the U.S. consulate. And even my brother sent an email, said, don't let him go. When he comes there, keep him over there. So she was mean to me. She said, no, you have to go.
The consulate sovereign ground, basically, when you're in a consulate, it is the country that the consulate is for. It's like its own existing part of the original country.
Yes. Yeah. I don't know why they did that to me, but I was shocked. They checked out my social security and my name to make sure it's me. And then they said that they have to report this to the authorities. I said, yeah, but where am I going to stay? I have to stay in the consulate until they figure out what you want to do with me. She said, no, you can go to a hotel. I said, look, ma'am, I don't have any money. Where am I supposed to go? She goes, no, we can't keep you. It's against our laws. So I don't know if she lied to me or she did that on purpose, but so then she gives me an address and says, go to this hotel, which was about a mile down the street. And I don't even know the streets over there. While I was crossing to the Pakistani border, the smugglers, they stole my U.S. passport.
Ugh.
Which a good thing was that my U.S. passport was expired. So when I went to the consulate, I told them, "Look, it's been stolen. Can you give me a temporary?" So they said, "Okay." So they gave me a temporary one, and then she sent me on this street. So basically, they kicked me out, which I was very frustrated.
Why were you traveling on an American visa that was about to expire?
It's my U.S. passport. It's because I had stayed for so long in Iran that it expired. I didn't think that I would stay there for so long.
How much time are we talking from the initial, you're going to be arrested in Iran and you escape, or you try to escape to Turkey and then have to go back? How much time is going by?
Altogether, arriving in Pakistan, it took like 7 months.
Wow.
Yeah.
So we're not talking just a couple days here, a couple days there. We're talking months are going by.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
So what happens when you try to find the hotel?
Yeah, so I started going down the street and I asked a couple of people who spoke a little bit of English. I said, "Where's this the hotel?" And they said, "You got to go straight up this bridge, and then it's at the bottom of the bridge." And I remember it was so hot and humid that my shirt would, I was sweating and my shirt was sticking to me. So I started walking, and I got to the hotel. And the person opened the door, and he said, "What do you want?" I said, "Look, they told me to come and stay here for a few days." He said, "Okay." So I go there, and I go to the receptionist. I said, "Look, I'm here. I'm a U.S. citizen. I need to stay here for a couple of days. Here's my passport." So then the lady looks at my passport and she says, "Where's your visa?" I go. "What visa are you talking about?" She goes, "The Pakistani e-visa. You don't have it on your passport." I go, "I don't know. I went to the consulate and they gave me this temporary passport." So she talks to her supervisor, and they come and they keep me in the lobby. I was there for 2.5 hours, and they called this government entity, which is called the SIA, which is equivalent to the CIA. So all of a sudden, I'm sitting in the lobby, and I got this beard, and I'm hungry, I'm thirsty. They just gave me some water, and all of a sudden, I see 4 or 5 people surround me, and they took my, I had a small backpack. They took my backpack, they took my stuff. They started going over it, and they told me, "Okay, show me your ticket. How did you get to Pakistan?" I said, "Look." I went to the consulate. They gave me this passport. So basically, he said, you have to tell us the whole story. So I had to go tell him the whole story again. And once I told him the story, this guy calls his supervisor, and within half an hour, they came and they picked me up in a car and they blindfolded me and they put me in this car. And they started driving through the Pakistani streets. And I thought, "Oh my God, these are probably terrorists or something. They just kidnapped me." So my heart was boom, boom, boom in the car. I thought I'm going to have a heart attack. So they took me, 20 minutes driving through the streets. And they took me to one of their houses. I guess it's a safe house. I'm not sure. I was blindfolded. And then they took me inside and they took me to the interrogation room. And they put me in a sofa, and there was, within like 10 minutes, they turned on the light and they took the blindfold, and I saw, 3 people sitting. One was across me, one was to my right, one was to the left. The guy in the front of me, he spoke very good English. He was a supervisor, and the others were the interrogators. So they told me, "Okay, tell me what's going on, and tell us your story again." So again, to his supervisor, I had to tell the whole story again. And he was shocked. He didn't believe it. He said, "It's impossible. You must be a spy." I said, "No, sir, I'm not a spy." He said, "No, you're a spy and all that." I said, "No, I'm not a spy." So after 7 and 8 hours of interrogation, I told them the whole story. And by the grace of God, they believed me. So they said, "Okay." So I said, "Sir, I'm tired. Can you take me back to the hotel so at least I can sleep there?" He goes, "Okay." So they took my passport and they took me back to the hotel, and they told the manager of the hotel, he told them he's going to stay here for 2 days, but he cannot leave his room. yeah, but I got to call my brother so he knows I'm alive. He goes, no, we're going to take the phone away from you. I said, no, please, I need to make at least one phone call. So finally, I made one phone call and I told my brother, I'm here at this hotel. So I was there for about 2 days.
And they've taken your passport again.
Yes, the U.S. passport. Yeah, they kept it.
Temporary, yeah.
Yes, exactly. So after 2 days, it was in the afternoon, I saw somebody knocking at the door, at the hotel door. So I opened it up, and this guy, gives me a big envelope. And he doesn't say anything. So then I say, thank you. I close the door, and I open the envelope. It's my passport, my U.S. passport. So I got happy. I said, okay, they believe my story. So then I called my brother. I said, look, they returned my passport, so hopefully I'll be coming home soon. The next day, I got a call from downstairs, the receptionist. She calls me. She goes, Mr. So-and-so. I said, yes. She goes, your friend is here. I said, ma'am, I don't have any friends here. I'm just passing through. She goes, no, you need to come downstairs now. I said, okay. So I go downstairs, and about, I would say, 10 people surround me, and they take my passport. And I tell him, I said, who are you guys? He goes, we're the equivalent of the FBI. So the SIA turned me over to these guys. So they took my passport and they took me to interrogation, to the police station. So they handcuffed me and took me away. So when I went to the police station, again, they started interrogating me and telling me, okay, tell me how you got here. How come you don't have a visa? You don't have plane tickets? You don't have this? So again, I had to tell my whole story again, all over again. And then again, I was so tired. So once I told my story, I thought it's going to be the same like the other guys. They're going to take me back to the hotel. Everything will be fine. So once I told my story, he told me, okay. I said, can you take me back to the hotel? He goes, no, you're going to jail. So I said, okay, let me call my brother. He has to know. So he gave his phone. I called my brother, and then I gave it to the superintendent who was in charge. He talked to my brother. He said, yeah, your brother's going to go to jail, and you need to get him a lawyer.
And the crime was crossing illegally into Pakistan?
Yes, crossing illegally into Pakistan. So he put me in a holding cell. So I was in that holding cell in the station for 3 days. Then they came and got me, and they said, "Okay, we need to take you to the hospital so we can get you a COVID test."
Did they feed you inside while they were holding you? Were you eating?
No, because they were only serving rice and some type of a liquid, which I couldn't eat. So I told them, "No, thank you. I cannot eat anything."
So you must have been quite thin by now, and
yeah, I lost a lot of weight. And then I told him, what's going to happen next? He said, then tomorrow we're going to go to court and the judge is going to decide your fate. So then the next day he took me to court again with handcuffs. We went up to this court, and it was a woman judge. And I pleaded with her. I said, and over there they got the British, they have the British law. So all the judges speak English. So I told to the judge, I said, Judge, this is what happened to me. Please, I need to get back to my family in the United States. I only came illegally because this is what happened to me. I mean, I didn't do anything bad, like none of those things. So she gave me a sentence. She said, you have to spend 90 days in jail, or it could be up to 5 years. So either 90 days or up to 5 years. Then she looked at me, and then all of a sudden she made the decision. She goes, okay, since it's your first time, I'm going to give you 90 days and you have to pay a fine. I said, okay, thank you. So then they took me to the men's central jail. And I thought over there, I'm going to go into a deportee section where they're going to deport people. They put in a separate section. Where I found out that they put me in the general population with all the criminals, and I was very scared for my life. It's because the first day that they took me in, I was in a room that said, occupancy 40, 50 people, and there was 150 people in there.
Prison, not a jail.
Yes.
Big difference. And the prisons in Pakistan are notorious.
So then they put me over there. I couldn't sleep the whole night. People were like staring at me. I was like, oh, this is bad. They were, rapists. Like they were Taliban, fighters who were caught. They were over there. There were all types of people, drug dealers, pedophiles. I would say all types of people. Yeah. So the next day they called me to the superintendent's office. So I go there, and once I walked in, he said, "How are you?" I said, "Not good. I didn't sleep last night. I'm spending in a room with 150 people." He goes, "You're famous." I said, "I don't know what you mean." He goes, "You're all over our TVs and the newspapers that we caught a U.S. spy." I said, "Sir, I'm not a spy."
I saw some of those newspaper articles saying that you were a spy. And then I went on some of what would be the equivalent of a Reddit talking about you. They caught this American spy and he was living large in this fancy hotel.
Yeah. So he tells me, he said, if you want, I can put you in a smaller, like a cell. I said, I would appreciate that. If you could do that, I would appreciate it. So he called one of these guards, and they took me to a different side of this prison, which was an old barracks. It was used when the British soldiers were there. So it was like 20 people in one barrack, and another barrack had like 20 people and one bathroom. If you wanted to sleep, you would have to sleep on your back because you couldn't turn to the right or to the left. And it was on a concrete, dirty floor.
Dysentery and lice and fleas.
Yeah, infested. Everything is infested. Rats, mosquitoes, all types of stuff. So I was in that specific barrack for about a month until I saw like one of the people who had been there for like 5 months. All of a sudden, he died in his sleep. It happened at 4:30 in the morning. And when these guys started shouting for somebody to come and take this guy's body, that nobody would come. It took an hour and a half before somebody even came to open the door and take him to the infirmary. So once I saw that, my mind was very shook. I had nightmares. Then I wrote a letter to the superintendent. I said, please, if you can change me to a different barrack, I can't be here. I mean, this is what I saw. So after about 2 days, he agrees. So he puts me in a different barrack, which was a little bit smaller. Instead of 20 people, it was 18 people. But still, rat infested, mosquito, everything, all those things. Mm. And every day, like they would bring food, which was sticky rice and oily sauce. I don't know what it was. I couldn't eat this stuff. And I told him, I wrote a letter to the superintendent. I said, I can't eat this stuff. Can you provide me like something else? He started joking with me. He said, what do you think this is, a hotel? This is not a hotel. Meanwhile, my brother and my family are trying to get me out. And on the second barrack, I got lucky. After about a week, they brought in this one guy who was caught for writing, checks that were, fraudulent. So they caught him over there, but he spoke very good English. He came to me. He became friends with me. He said, look, I will treat you like my own, brother. What would you like to eat? I said, look, I don't know what you guys have here. Do you have McDonald's? You have Pizza Hut? You have Chinese food or something? He goes, yeah, I'll tell my brother and my family to bring that. And everybody who was there in that jail, they had people who would visit them every day. I was the only person who didn't have any visitors. So these guys would go for an hour and a half and, see their loved ones in a separate section and come back with the food. So basically this guy, saved my life. And he also told these people, the people in that barrack, not to bother me. He said that this guy is okay, even though he's from the United States, but don't bother him.
Now you've been going through this ordeal for months and months and months. Your brother is found and put money toward your coming home to no avail. He's petitioning our government.
Yeah, so basically my brother He wrote an email to President Biden. He got no answer. He wrote an email to, Congressman Ted Lieu, and he wrote an email to Dianne Feinstein, and also no answer. And also there was this one guy, he worked for the State Department. His name was Nicholas Pfizer. He really helped my brother a lot. It was him, and it was Congressman like Ted Lieu. If it wasn't for these two people, like putting the pressure, which it wasn't too much of a pressure anyway, but at least for the consulate to come and see me, even though this person came only one time and said, only we can go on, only visit your, like they told my brother, our protocol is only to visit your brother one time. And that's it. Yeah, but basically when they came, they didn't do anything for me anyways. And I told them, I said, my life is in danger. I can't sleep at night. I got anxiety. I got depression. I don't know what these guys are going to do at any time. They could cut my throat. I was really getting, starting to give up hope. And then the only thing that kept me going is knowing that my brother, and at that time my brother had already he hired a Pakistani lawyer. So he came and visited me, and he would come, visit me often. And he actually turned out to be a very honest lawyer. So he said, I'll do this. I'll take him to court. I will take care of everything for him. So that was one good thing. And the other good thing is, we were locked up for 12 hours a day. And they would open up the doors at 6 a.m. So from 6 a.m. to like 6 p.m., we would go outside. It was like 100 meters, and you could walk around. And they had all types of birds over there in that in that prison, which really I was amazed. But this one white dove. I don't know if it was a he or she, but I would look at it every day. It would fly on top of this balcony, and I would watch it, and that gave me some hope. I said, look, out of all these black birds, I see one white dove.
And you met a cleric.
Yes, and I met a cleric. Yeah, and I met a cleric over there. Yeah, he also told me. He said, don't give up. If you give up, you're going to die in here.
How many days total did you stay in prison?
Yeah, my sentence was for 90 days, but they kept me for 116 days.
What happened when you were finally released? What was that process?
I found out about 2 days before I got released. They would not tell me before. So 2 days before, the superintendent came and took me to his office, and he said, look, congratulations, I got good news for you. You're being released. We're going to come and pick you up at 10:30 at night and take you to the airport. And then from there, we're going to put you in the transit room, and then you're going to take your flight and go. But before that, my brother had to buy the tickets and confirm on that date, which was October 7th, that my flight was there.
And by now, you've spent a year in this ordeal?
Yes.
What was that flight home like?
Oh, the flight home, I was very nervous. It's because when they came to pick me up at 10:30 at night, they handcuffed me and they put me in the car. But before they took me to the airport, they said, we need to take you to the hospital to take an X-ray. I said, what's the reason? He goes that, we need to make sure that you don't have any drugs in your body. I said, look, I don't take drugs. There's no need for me to take drugs. They said, no, but we have to make sure. So they took me to this hospital, and they did an X-ray. And then after that, my flight was at 4 a.m. They took me to the airport like at 11:30 at night, and they took me upstairs. They just left me there. But when they left me there from 11:30 till like 3:30 before they started, boarding the plane, I was so nervous that I thought that, they might come back and take me again. It's because I didn't know how. I was very nervous and I had anxiety. So I went to the other side of the airport, and I just sat somewhere so nobody would see me. And I just counted the hours until I get on the plane and get on the plane. But when I did get on the plane, and the plane flew, and then it passed the Pakistani, border, and that's when it was a sigh of relief.
Absolutely. And when you land, you find out that your mother had passed.
Yeah. So my brother, he did not tell me that my mother had passed. So when I landed, I came out of the airport, and my brother did not recognize me. I almost passed him. And then I said, it's me. So it's because I had lost a lot of weight. And then, so we went in the car, and he said, are you hungry? I said, yeah, let's go eat something, and then take me to my mom. And then I saw that he's not saying anything. So he brought one of our friends that used to be also a good friend to my father and my mother, and he came. And then once we went to my brother's house, my brother said that, I'm going to go and get something. I'll be back. So they left me with this gentleman who was a family friend. He was supposed to tell me, and he couldn't. So when I asked him, how's my mom, he couldn't say anything. So I knew something had happened. So when my brother came back, I told him, he said, yeah, she passed on. So it was very devastating for me.
Yeah, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
With all of this ordeal, I imagine you developed a pretty severe case of PTSD. How have you, in the years since, dealt with that, the trauma of it? And has it changed ultimately who you are as a person, do you think? Or has it made you more steadfast and you're just as you are and have always been?
Well, I still have nightmares about the place. I mean, not all the time. In the beginning when I got here, I used to have a lot of nightmares, but now it's gotten better. I haven't really gotten any help. It's because I don't want to go to a psychiatrist and they give me, like medication. I don't like to take medication at first, but it's made me more. I think twice before I, if somebody tells me something, I don't take it, on face value. I double check. I make sure that whatever the person is telling me is the truth, and then I try to like pull a fast one or try to con me or something like that. But as far as my personality, I think I've stayed the same. Everybody says you're still the same.
Yeah, I had the opportunity to have lunch with you and your family, and everyone was so lovely.
Yeah.
Did you end up losing the house? I imagine you probably don't ever want to go back there, to be honest.
Yeah, I cannot go back. And the house, there's nothing we can do unless we find somebody else and we have to start all over again. So I'm just hoping that right now, with all these sanctions going back, hopefully a revolution will happen. And everybody says if the revolution happens and these ayatollahs are out, then everybody who lost their houses, they can go back and reclaim. But it will take months. It's not something that you can just go and come back in a month. So
what a story. It's an incredible ordeal that you endured. I think a lot of people probably would not have survived what you survived. It's a great testament to your mettle, METTLE mettle, your stamina and your strength.
Yes.
Are you a faithful person? Do you have a connection, not religion, but did anything like that pull you through? I mean, the dove, which of course is very symbolic. There was a clergyman in the prison. All these things to me seem like almost winks from the universe of hang on and hang in there.
Yeah, exactly. And another thing I used to do, in prison over there too, every morning I would go somewhere where there was outside when they they would let us out at 6 a.m. I would go to a corner where there were not too many people and just pray to Jesus. And I would say, Jesus, please take me away from this place.
Did you feel like you were going to get out? Or were you, was there any part of you that thought, this is where I'm going to die?
But what it is, in the beginning, when I got there and I heard the stories of the inmates who were in the same barracks as me, that they were there for like 10 years, 15 years, and 20 years, and they're still there and going through to the courts, I thought I would never get out.
Well, tell me what's on the horizon. Tell me what you're looking forward to.
Well, basically, what I'm looking for, hopefully, is that to tell my story so it goes out there, so nobody has to go through this again. Hopefully they will listen to this, podcast. And if you are Iranian, if you got 2 passports, don't go back. Even if somebody tells you, "Oh, it's safe, you can come back," don't go there. It's because it's a risk, And once you go there, you feel helpless.
Mm-hmm. That's good advice. Thank you for sharing your story.
Oh, thank you very much for having me.
Absolutely. You are a testament to the human endurance.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Absolutely. And thank you for listening, everybody. Bye.
All right. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Take care. Good night. Bye. Bye.
Rate, review, and subscribe to Hey Human Podcast on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks. Bye.